very high ERA. In 48 innings, he's given up 30 earned runs and a whopping 55 hits. And Chris, the number that stands out, certainly the 12 home runs in 48 innings.
Well, he gave up a home run in his last start. That was a win against the Dodgers. Cody Bellinger took him deep on a fastball that he got down around the thighs. And that's been the big bugaboo for Homer Bailey. His fastball doesn't have a lot of movement on it. So when you don't have a lot of sink or run, you have to make sure that you're able to pinpoint that control around the outside of the zone. And when he makes a mistake, they're all over him. I think what's going to be an important pitch for Homer, as it always is that split finger fastball. This is a good fastball hitting ball club the Cubs have. His slider is going to be important, but I think that splitter, when he gets that going, that's when he can do something.
Let's take a look at the Reds on defense behind Homer Bailey tonight, presented by Ford. It'll be Hamilton flanked by Duvall and Winker. A night off for Schebler against the left-hander John Lester. Regular cast along the infield, and Tucker Barnhart, the reigning National League Gold Glove winning catcher, hanging his sides. Bailey making his 19th career start against the Chicago Cubs. 8-3 in ERA at 4.5. And here we go. Strike one to the veteran Ben Zobrist in right field, and this one underway. Zobrist at .287 with 10 runs batted in. Good on base percentage, a little over .360. Three-time All-Star, two-time World Champion. Won a World Series with Kansas City and Chicago, and that one banged into center field. A base hit to start the night for Zobrist.
Zobrist is a guy who has now been around the league a long, long time. He's about a week away from his 37th birthday. And that is Ben Zobrist in his finest right there. Gets a little pitch, doesn't try to do too much with it. Rarely you're going to see him hit a home run. When you do, it's down the right field line. But he gets the leadoff runner on with a solid base hit to center field.
Well, you talk about Zobrist closing in on 37. This young man, Chris Bryant, just turned 26. And he drives one deep into the night, left center field, and up against the wall. Zobrist on his way to third. And the Cubbies swinging the bats right from the get-go, single and double.
Well, you see where this pitch was supposed to be. Tucker Barnhart set up on the outer part of the plate, and it runs pretty much right back into one of the major hot zones of Chris Bryant right there. Middle in, a little bit above the belt. And for a big, tall guy, Bryant has a nice short swing and got to that ball. Reds are lucky that one stayed in the ballpark.
Well, you go back over the last 2 years, and no one has hit more home runs as a visiting player than the left-handed batter who settles in there right now, Anthony Rizzo. 10 home runs, a whopping 10 of them in the last 2 seasons for Rizzo. And our Elk and Elk storyline, this is something Chris touched upon earlier. Rizzo 22 at-bats against Bailey, a batting average up over 400, and the rest of the team not much going on. That is until the first 2 hitters tonight. Rizzo off to a dreadful start. Now he has a big RBI total at 23. He only has 8 extra base hits, and that batting average sub 200. And normally he's among the league leaders in on-base percentage, and though it's well over 100 points better than the batting average, that's still quite low as well for Rizzo.
Well, that's been the problem right there for Anthony Rizzo. I mean, his strikeouts per plate appearance are just about the same as they've always been. But what you see with Rizzo is he's not walking nearly as much. So when you have a player that's not walking, that means he's chasing a lot of pitches out of the zone, consequently not hitting them hard and not getting a good batting average. So he comes in at 195. That's something I would never think you'd see Rizzo at right now.
Second and third, nobody out in the Chicago opening inning after an hour-and-a-half rain delay. And hooked foul. Not by much.
Now this is why when as I mentioned, Rizzo not walking much, this is where you need to expand the strike zone because you've got the count that really favors you if you're Homer Bailey. You don't have to even put it that close. Let's see what he'll chase right here. He's already chased the fastball up and out of the zone. Will he chase a splitter down and away? Will he chase a slider down and in off the plate? I mean, he's so anxious to get these runs in. He's so anxious to get that batting average up. He's liable to be a little aggressive.
Rain starting to come down again. It had stopped for about 40 minutes or so. And there's a base hit into left field, a third straight hit for Chicago, and that was right in that strike zone. So the Cubs have a 1-0 lead. 3 batters, 3 hits into this one. Wilson Contreras, a breakout season in 2017. 21 home runs, 74 runs batted in, second most among all National League catchers behind the great Buster Posey of the Giants. He was only the second Cub catcher in the last 20 years to hit 20 home runs in a season. If I'm not mistaken, the other was Rick Wilkins. You and I were talking about him the other day. Just a wonderful young man, grew up outside the Jacksonville, Florida area, and grew up with a sister with special needs. Has a big charity event down there. You used to play in it. I used to MC that event every year. Great family. Wonderful mom and dad.
Boy, was he a pull hitter, too.
Yes,
Remember,
he
used
was.
to pull the ball foul, I mean, up and out of the stadium.
Strong as a bull.
Yeah.
He was built like a linebacker back in the early 90s. And Contreras comes in smoking. He's not red hot, he is white hot. In the last 7 games, he has 3 home runs, 2 triples, and 4 doubles. Hot smash foul. His on-base percentage in the last week is almost, a little better than .570 and a batting average of an even .500. So up over between the two, 1.2 on the slugging percentage. I think that's that pitch you were looking for to try to get Rizzo.
Well, I think that when you get ahead, that's the main thing you've got to do. I mean, right now, the Reds are willing to give up another run in exchange for a double play ball right here. Homer Bailey's got to be thinking about damage control. You runner at third base, nobody out. Likely he's going to figure out a way to score. But that's it. Don't let any more than 2 in here in the first inning.
Cubs have grounded into the fewest number of double plays of any team in Major League Baseball. Only 18 of them all year. And Contreras stays alive.
It's a good pitch. I mean, if he's willing to chase it there, will he chase it a little bit lower in the zone? Not necessarily more outside, because you have to make it look like a strike. That's a really good spot.
Homer still hunting for an out. Contreras the first, with runners at first and third. This will be another base hit. Bouncing ball through Suarez, and Peraza. Scoring is Bryant. 4 batters, 4 hits, 2-0 Chicago.
When it rains, it pours, at least that way for the Cubs offense right now. Double play depth, shortstop a little bit snug towards second base, and this is just one step out of his reach.
Well, there is something about this Cub team when they come to play the Reds, and it was the other way, you may remember, for a number of years when the Cubs were really down. The Reds used to kick them around no matter where they played, no matter when they played, night games in Chicago, day games here. But it is completely swung the other way. The Cubs are 40-18. 40-18 against the Reds over the last 3 seasons. That is a staggering number. It's the highest winning percentage of any team against any divisional opponent in either league. Two 2-0 on Addison Russell. And you see that 20-9 record here at Great American Ballpark since 2015. And we mentioned earlier, since 15, Joe Maddon's team has won more games than any National League club. As everybody knows that follows baseball even on the periphery, this team won its first World Series in well over 100 years, 2 years ago, that thrilling 7-game series defeating Cleveland. And then last year eliminated in the opening round by the Los Angeles Dodgers. That is a missile off the bat of Addison Russell. They're going to wave around Rizzo. Throw airmails everybody and his brother, allowing both runners to advance. 3-0 Chicago. Second and third, nobody out. 5 hits in a row off Homer Bailey to start this game.
Well, a nightmarish first inning for Bailey right here. Doesn't get any better because he leaves a slider hanging right in the middle of the zone. And Russell lays out another line drive. 5 hits in the inning. 4 of them have been very hard hit balls. I think that ball was just wet by the time it got to Billy Hamilton and completely slipped out of his hand.
You may remember Bailey, his last start, pitched 5 innings. He allowed 2 hits in each of those 5 innings, and the Dodgers stranded a whopping 9 into 5 innings. Bailey did give up 3 runs. And he was very upset about being lifted from the game when the Reds wound up scoring 4 runs in the 6th inning, which really handed Bailey a win. And he had not won, you may remember, since his last start of 2017 when he beat the Brewers. And already action in the Reds bullpen. Right-hander Jackson Stevens. Now the batter, the Middletown grad, Kyle Schwarber. 241 hitter, 7 home runs, 17 knocked in. And he looks at a strike. Bailey, you may remember, had the outstanding opening day start. He was beaten by Max Scherzer in a 1-0 game. It was 1-0 when Bailey came out, wound up 2-0 the final. He only allowed the 1 run in 6 innings. Gave up 5 his next start, but got on a nice 3-start run. 1 run in 6 innings, 3 runs in 7, pitched into the 6th, 3 runs his next game. But the last 4 have not gone well, and this would be a 5th. First out recorded on the pop-up by Schwarber. Javier Baez, an RBI machine. 36 of them. That's most in the National League coming into play tonight. 5th highest slugging percentage. The one thing Baez was not doing early in the year was striking out. He went through a 43 plate appearance stretch where he only struck out 6 times, but he's now struck out 6 times on the first 2 games of this Chicago trip in Atlanta. Bailey could use a strikeout here.
Well, he also is a guy that will not take a walk very easily as well. I mean, he's looking to jerk the ball. If you watch his front left leg, I mean, he's stepping in the bucket a little bit, looking for something on the inner third to launch.
Bailey ahead 0-2.
Baez starts a little bit open with that stance. Here's the Reds defense. They're going to play him pretty much straight up. Again, conceding another run, just trying to keep the, if you get a ball down on the ground to somebody other than the pitcher.
Got him on a swing and a miss, and there is that strikeout that Bailey needed. 2 down in the inning.
The curveball right here, he just stays right on top of it and gets Baez to swing wildly.
I was getting ready to say, I'd bet the Ranch are going to walk Happ, and they do. You just can't take any chances with a number 8 hole hitter and a base open, already down 3-0 in the first inning, especially against a guy like Lester. So the pitcher, the number 9 hole in the batting order, will bat here in the opening inning. Lester has 2 hits and 15 at bats so far this season, with 1 run batted in. Pull to the right side. So it wasn't good, but it could have been a lot worse. It's a 3-run Chicago opening inning. Bailey gives up hits to the first 5 Chicago batters. Reds offense with work to do. Play yet. Chicago a 3-0 lead. Let's take a look at the Reds lineup presented by Nissan. Peraza, Jeanette, Suarez for just the 29th time in his major league career and the first time since 2014. Joey Votto is batting cleanup. Duvall in left, Winker in right, a ladder third to Barnhart, Bailey, and Hamilton. And on the mound, what a career this guy has had. I mean, what a career.
You know, John Lester is rarely in the conversation for Cy Young Award winner, but he's always, every year, in the top 10 in pitchers in whatever league he's in. He always takes the ball. He'll average 32 or 33 starts a year. He'll give you 200 innings. I mean, he just answers the bell over and over again, and it always seems like he's got a earned run average under control. This year it's 266 right now, and one of the better pitchers around, obviously, in this whole generation.
This guy has 69 games over 500 in his career. 69 games. Here you see where he ranks among active pitchers. 162 wins, only 93 losses, a career ERA in over 2,228 innings of 3.50. That is a great major league career. Now, is it good enough, the sheer numbers to get him into the Hall of Fame? No, they're not. That's why you really appreciate when you look at some of the guys, Chris, at 300 game winners. I mean, this guy's a little more than half that right now, and you think about all the games he's won in his career. Now, you don't have to be a 300 game winner to get in. But like you said, doesn't matter where he's pitching, what league he's pitching in, every year, he is right there in the top 5 to 10 pitchers in the league.
Tom, if you really look at the way baseball has changed going forward, that ranking of wins is going to be one of the less significant factors in voting for a starting pitcher, whether he gets into the Hall of Fame or not. In fact, it's probably going to be more used for a guy that gathers a bunch of wins as one of his peripheral numbers rather than his main number, which would be, number of starts, earned run average, number of hits per inning, things like that.
2-2 pitch popped up by Jose Peraza. Zobrist waves off half, 1 out.
One of the things I'm really interested in watching for Lester is that he's always had a very simple formula for pitching, which is pound the bottom of the strike zone. Fastball, four-seam fastball mostly, cutter, curveball, and changeup. But it's always down around the knees. Now, with more and more hitters trying to elevate the ball, trying to lift the ball so they get home runs, I'm wondering if he's going to go with the high fastball every once in a while to try to take advantage of those uppercut swings.
Now Scooter Gennett, 327 batter, reigning National League Player of the Week. 7 home runs, 25 runs batted in. Last 9 games, better than a 460 batter. 5 home runs, 11 batted in, 9 scored for Gennett. Lester not afraid to let the umpire know what kind of job he's doing out there on the mound. He will openly get away with disagreeing with calls from umpires that younger pitchers would dare not try.
Well, when you've been around a while, you can do that. And if it can buy him 1 or 2 important calls a night, then why not try it?
Two balls, 2 strikes on Gennett, and a liner at the third baseman Bryant. A lot of Cub fans naturally coming into town. I mean, you think about value for your dollar. I mean, you're not going to beat it coming to Great American Ballpark by staggering numbers. A, what you pay for a ticket. B, if you're coming in from out of town, what it's going to cost you to park your car. I know Cub fans really enjoy coming here because they feel like, it's a fair price on what they're paying to see a ball game. You park anywhere near Wrigley Field, I mean, that parking alone is going to cost you $50, $60, $70, $80 to park one game anywhere close to the ballpark. Suarez went around too far, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike.
I wonder, Tom, that if maybe Cubs fans have figured out that if they park a few miles away, for, say, $5 somewhere, or even in a free parking
Sure.
lot, and then Uber to the ballpark and go back.
I bet you they have.
Why not?
I'm sure they do. Problem is, around the neighborhood, as you know, you and I have gone through all those neighborhoods in and around the ballpark. Almost all of that neighborhood is a decal parking on the street.
Right.
So you'd have to really get far away to find really anywhere at all just to park. Swing and a miss. We pulled in that parking lot the other night at Dodger Stadium, and I'd really never paid any attention to it, but when we pulled in there on the bus the other night, to park inside the lot of Dodger Stadium, which is the largest parking lot by far of any Major League Baseball stadium. Dodgers have owned that land since day one when they moved to California. The lowest price parking is $30, and that's the furthest away, and that's a hike. For the two levels closest to the park, it was $40 and $55. $55. When I saw the sign, I almost fell out of my chair on the bus. 3-2 pitch.
Seatbelt on.
You're right. Down the right field line, hit a long way by Suarez, and foul. Wow, not by much. Pretty steady rain falling right now. Nothing to stop the game, at least for the time being. 3-2 again. Foul ball up the left field line.
Well, you had to figure that after that ball was hit so with such authority by Suarez down the right field line, nearly getting a home run, Lester would come inside on the next pitch. Suarez thinking the same thing. I'll tell you, that's really a good swing Suarez has on pitches that are down and out over the plate.
Foul down the right field line, foul down the left field line, and now Suarez dribbles one in to the Chicago dugout.
The pitch that you see that registers at 87 miles an hour, that's Lester's go-to pitch. That's his cutter. His fastball is around 90 to 92, and he'll take a little bit off the fastball and cut it in towards a right-hander, and it acts like a very hard slider. And that is one of his favorite pitches of all. Throws it about 1 out of every 4 throws.
Ninth pitch of this at bat, Lester against Suarez, and now Lester taking a little too long for Suarez liking. Slightly to pull on the Chicago infield. And there'll be a 10th pitch in this at bat. Cubs roll in, 22 up, 18 down. Showed you how streaky they've been here over the last month. This is a hotly contested National League Central Division among the top 4 teams. Everybody playing well. Cubs 4 over, Cardinals 5 over, Milwaukee 8 over, Pittsburgh 9 over. Cubs 2.5 back. Ten pitches so far in this at bat. Number 11 on deck. And it's capped off by a walk on an 11-pitch at bat by Suarez.
That's a great at bat. You know, it used to be before pitch counts were so popular that a long at bat like that really didn't have much of an effect on the ball game. But now it does, because if you can have an at bat like that or string 2 together in a row, say one by Votto following that up, you know, you may get Lester 1 less inning in this ball game.
I mean to tell you, Lester's walking around out there like he's got nowhere to be for a long time. He has walked behind the mound and gone to the rosin bag. They have an area to clean off your spikes.
Well, he's waited long enough to pitch. He was a scheduled starter in last night's ball game that was postponed down in Atlanta.
One and 0 on Joey Votto.
They waited in anticipation down at SunTrust Field down there for, I guess, about 3 hours until they finally postponed that game right around 10 o'clock at night. So Lester was on call, ready to go in if the rain was going to stop. They had no chance of getting that game in, though.
2-0 on Votto. Lester did not like that last call by the home plate umpire, and that's what we brought up a little while ago. He stared in there and very, very upset that the second pitch in this at bat was not called a strike by the crew chief, Jim Reynolds. Three balls and a strike on Votto. Suarez at first. And it's a strike on the inside corner. Fastball, 92 miles per hour, knee high, right on the edge.
That's a great pitch right there, but I think that's a pitch that Votto, if he gets that same delivery with 2 out or 2 strikes on him, that's a ball that he's going to pull the trigger on, at least foul off. He was obviously looking for something out over the plate.
Strike 3 called and Votto knew it. You can read his lips. How did I take that? Said it 3 times, right down the middle. Of the first 20,000 fans through the gates for the second game of the doubleheader. That's a 7:10 start. You'll get a Reds Garden Gnome presented by Cons. Reds and the Cubs, you can be here for as low as $10. For tickets, visit Reds.com. First game tomorrow is at 1:10. That's a makeup from the second game of that 2-game series between the Reds and the Cubs, the first homestand of the year after the Nationals were here for 3. The Reds won the only game between these two teams this year by a 1-0 count. Tyler Mahle was spectacular that day. Top of the order in the first, top of the order in the second. A 3-run Chicago first inning. It started with a Ben Zobrist single into center field.
Mahle will get his chance against the Cubs against Yu Darvish on Sunday.
Now, granted, we're only a month and a half into this season, but Darvish has been undeniably one of the biggest disappointments for any team in baseball. Now, make no mistake, he's capable of throwing a no-hitter every time he gets a ball. Barnhart to squeeze it tightly. Good start to the second inning. You were here that day, Chris.
6 innings of one-hit baseball for Tyler Mahle. I think that he was so impressive. I remember Joe Madden saying after the ball game that boy, this Mahle kid, you know, if he stays healthy, you're going to hear a lot about him. Suarez hit the home run. Iglesias came in and nailed it down, and the Reds got the sweep of that one-game series. Well, Suarez had the triple in that. I thought he hit a home run.
Tomorrow in the doubleheader, Luis Castillo will pitch the early game against Jose Quintana. And then Kyle Hendricks against Sal Romano in the nightcap. And the Cubs have left open the possibility of flip-flopping their 2 pitchers. And we know the Reds go with the 2 youngsters, Castillo and then Romano. Bryant, in just 2.5 full years in the big leagues, has already clubbed over 100 home runs. All the controversy about waiting what turned out to be a total of 11 regular season games back in 2015. Hit 26 home runs that year, knocked in 99. Then went 39 and 102 in 16 when they won it all. Last year, the RBIs were way down to 7-3, but the on-base percentage was up, batting average was up, and he hit 29 bombs. Gone swinging is Bryant. Second strikeout for Bailey.
There's a splitter finally getting a little bit of a good spot in the strike zone after a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. The previous pitch was the best fastball that Bailey threw all night. Comes with that splitter, and I think maybe if he can get the feel of that, he'll be able to hang around a little while.
Rizzo knocked in the first run in that Chicago first inning with a single into left center field.
Now, on a night like this where the rain continues to just kind of lightly fall down, the hitter's trying to keep the bat dry, and the pitcher's trying to keep his hands dry to get a good grip on the baseball. Be a constant battle all night long.
2-2 on Rizzo.
Well, Rizzo really choking up. I know we've seen him choke up a little bit. I do not recall him choking up all that much. Really changing his approach here with 2 strikes.
Still 3-2 on Rizzo. Slicing towards Duvall in center. It's a nice bounce back second inning for Bailey, who retires the side in order. Cubs lead 3-0.
May 19th of 2008, that's 10 years ago tomorrow, John Lester threw his first and only no-hitter. It was against the Kansas City Royals. Just 2 years after facing cancer, Lester threw the 18th no-no in Red Sox history, striking out 9 and walking 2. Jason Varitek was behind the plate for his Major League Baseball record 4th no-hitter as a catcher. John Lester on the mound. History.
No, sorry.
How about that?
All right, here we go. Adam Duvall to lead things off for the Reds. And it's strike one. Reds are down 3-0. Cubbies got 3 runs in the first inning, 5 straight hits off Homer Bailey. We were an hour and a half getting late We're getting started tonight because of the rain. So we're an hour and a half late from the scheduled first pitch. But then Homer bounces back nicely, retires 3 of the last 4 in the first inning, and then 3 in a row in the second inning. One ball and 1 strike. Duvall to be followed by Winker and Barnhart. Well done. Nothing to it. Sunglasses at night.
That's the second really nice play he's made already tonight.
I mean, we've talked about him before, he and his brother. Working down that area. But that one always wears the shades. Dialed in, got the big league gum going. Fans are asking him for autographs, says I can't right now. It's locked in. Ball out of there swinging. Second strikeout for Lester. Chicago on defense. You've seen everybody come to the plate already. Some more than once. Happ flanked by Schwarber and Zobrist. Cincinnati connections with Happ and Schwarber. One played collegiately here. The other one grew up here. It's a star-studded infield, man. So young, including their catcher. That's the one thing about this Chicago team. You know, the last number of years they've had veteran pitchers, although much younger this year in that rotation than they have been in years past when they had Lackey as part of that rotation and Jake Arrieta. I mean, you're looking at mid-20 stuff in this infield. Sharp one hopper scooped up by Baez. 2 down.
And most of those guys are out there because of their offense and not their defense. Their offense is the reason they got drafted high, the reason they are being, so sought after as young players. And you hope that the defense can come around. Right now, the Cubs have the second most errors of any team in the National League, trailing only the Giants.
Of course, you look around that infield, they acquired half of it via trades. So Rizzo actually is with his 3rd different organization. There you see Addison Russell. He was a first-round pick by the Athletics.
Well,
and of course, they drafted Bryant and they signed Baez.
Most of the players that they have are younger than 28 years old, and they're going to be under team control at least through 2021. So it takes the pressure off the front office of trying to go out and find players to fill a certain spot next year or the year after that. So when they go into the free agent draft, we can talk about that as this game goes on.
Well, my man, I got news for you. We got a double dip tomorrow to talk about.
I'm ready.
office or on the go with MLB.tv. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Your subscription includes MLB At Bat Premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Visit MLB.tv for details. Homer Bailey having the grounds crew come out and put some of that diamond dry around the mound area. Well, those guys work so hard over the course of the summer on this grounds crew. They do a terrific job. It's hard work, dirty work, sweaty work, and they get it done every night.
First ones to be here and the last ones to leave.
Indeed they are. Cubs bat here in the third, leading 3-0. They scored all 3 runs after the first 5 batters of the plate in the first inning. Went single, double, single, single, single. Zobrist, Bryant, Rizzo, Contreras, Russell. Well, then Bailey did a really nice job with second and third and nobody out. He got Schwarber on a pop-up. He struck out Javier Baez. He intentionally walked the number 8 hitter. He retired Lester to win the inning. That could have easily been a 4 or 5 run first. It's back-to-back rockets off the bat of Contreras. He hit the ball very hard. I mean, he found a hole his first time up into left field, but hit it sharply. This time a line drive, 2 for 2.
Well, you mentioned how hot he is right now. That ball comes off the bat like a knuckleball. I mean, when you hit it like a knuckleball, that's when you really hit it just about right on the screws as hard as you possibly can.
Addison Russell, a line drive RBI single in the first inning. Breaking ball for a strike. Cubs, of course, come into this season the prohibitive favorite to win the National League Central. Milwaukee gave them a run for their money most of last year. Then Milwaukee hit that tough stretch before coming on strong near the end. That was served the other way by Russell.
Well, you leave a large swath open on the right side for somebody to try to hit it through. It takes some talent to get it over there. But Russell now, a couple of hits, both of them to the opposite field.
Cubs have played in the National League Championship Series each of the last 3 years. They fell to the Dodgers in 5 last year, 4 games to 1. I think everybody was stunned the way they beat the Washington Nationals. Not so much that they beat them, although Washington should have won that series. It went the full 5 games, including that 9-8 Game 5 win against Washington, where there's all the controversy about the call that wasn't made. The umpires completely botched the call. And no one in the Washington Nationals dugout apparently knew it. Cubs had not been to the playoffs for 3 years in a row since 1906 through 1908. And now they've been there 3 years in a row. Of course, the 1908 date is significant because until 2 years ago, that was the last time the Cubs had won a World Series. 2-1 on Kyle Schwarber. There's very little debate that Schwarber brings his A game against his hometown team. I think it's why so many of us are surprised when, you know, the last year or two it got so bad for him, they sent him to the minor leagues. And that's a play that just has no chance to work. I don't know if the Reds believe it has a chance to work, or they're just trying to keep a catcher a step closer at second base.
Well, the timing's got to be impeccable. I don't think, you know, the only reason you keep the runner at second base is if you thought that Schwarber was going to lay down a bunt here. I don't think he's up there to do that.
You know, Schwarber was hitting in the high 100s, low 200s. And every time the Reds see him, you saw those numbers a moment ago. I mean, it's ridiculous. 330 in 25 career games against a team he grew up rooting for.
You know, Homer Bailey did something very interesting in his glove before that last pitch. He first had the grip of a split-finger fastball as he looked back at the runner, just in case the runner was giving a sign to the hitter. And then at the last second, he put the four-seam fastball grip on it. And sometimes, you know, there's always a suspicion that the runner at second base is giving a sign or a location of a catcher, or he's, rather than reading the sign off the catcher, he's reading inside the glove of the pitcher. And if you throw a splitter, that is a very distinguishable grip on a baseball that you can see from second base. I thought that was pretty tricky by Homer Bailey to kind of cross him up. All it takes is one cross up and hitter doesn't want it anymore. Don't even tell me what's coming.
3-2 to Schwarber. I mean, Bailey's infielders, and obviously they're not, but they could not have a look of further disinterest than we are seeing at the pace that Bailey is pitching on the mound. I mean, Jeanette has come in twice and talked to the umpire. Peraza's go out to talk to the runner at second base. Suarez continues to talk to the umpire down at third. And you brought up earlier about the rain. And the pitcher making sure he's got a dry hand, but Bailey continues to clean off those spikes that are gathering a lot of the mud in there. This is almost surreal, sitting from up where we sit, to look down on the players that are playing behind Bailey. Winkers looking in the stands.
Well, the Reds have used up a couple of mound visits already. Danny Darwin went out in the first inning. Barnhart and the infielders came in here in the third. It's worth being delivered if you can get a ground ball double play right here.
3-2 the count on Schwarber. Nobody out. 2 on here in the Cub third. And the bases are loaded. Second walk. The other was an intentional walk given up by Bailey. And here comes Javier Baez. Coming up later on, we'll have our whole true moment presented by Miller Lite. Stick around for that. Bailey's got work to do. Bailey, knowing that Baez would come out of his shoes to see a first pitch strike with the bases loaded, nobody out. So he throws him a splitter and misses low, ball 1. Rocket should be an easy double play. They'll trade it for a run. So that's a big double play ball right there off the bat of Baez. The Cubs lead 4-0. That's the first double play ground ball that Homer Bailey has rolled up this year. What a time to get it. Ian Happ is intentionally walked for the second time. And Lester will bat with runners on the corners and 2 outs. Lester swung at the first pitch with the bases loaded in the first inning and hit a ground ball to Scooter Gennett. Got him swinging on a high fastball. That'll retire the side. Cubs get 1 and lead in the middle of the third, 4-0.
The coaches for the Reds. It's time for a T-Mobile Hats Off for Heroes. Darren Ebert on the right there of your screen. His brother, Hospital Corpsman Senior Chief Chris, served from 1990 to 2011 with the United States Marine Corps. He had 8 tours of Somalia, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Darren is a first year with the Reds Major League staff, and you saw him earlier. His brother now lives in Antioch, Illinois. He works at the Great Lakes Naval Base Hospital, so continues to work. And our hats off to him, a hero for sure. And there is Darren Ebert. his brother. Very proud of his brother, Chris.
Well,
Gentlemen?
we're proud of him, too. We're thankful.
Darren just joined the coaching staff this year at the major league level. He's been in the minor leagues for quite a while with the Reds. Pitched a little bit in the major leagues back in 1999 when he was 22 years old. Pitched with the Atlanta Braves. He's now 41 and a former left-hander, throws a lot of batting practice and bounce a lot of pitching ideas off each other in there. Good guy, Darren Ebert. Had a pretty good idea about pitching, and I'll tell you what, that conversation right there is one that you could learn a lot from.
Well, Homer Bailey is going to bat. I mean, the Reds have gone through this stretch here recently where the starters have really not given them much. I mean, you look at the Giants series alone, and I know the team had an off day yesterday, but they also have a doubleheader tomorrow, so one hand washes the other when all's said and done there. In that Giant series, Romano gave him 2 1/3. The next night, under the weather, Tyler Mahle gave him 3 1/3. And then the series finale, Matt Harvey only pitched 4. So they barely got a 9-inning game in 3 starts from the trio in that Giant series. So Bailey's going to hang in this game for a little while. He strikes out against Lester. 4 of them now for the Chicago left-hander, 1 out here in the 3rd.
I think the other part of that, Tom, is until the Reds offense shows that they can get something going against Lester, why go out there and dig into your bullpen? Reds have yet to have a hit off of Lester.
Well, here's a guy getting better and better as the season gone on. The last 3 weeks for Billy Hamilton, that on-base percentage has been almost 350. Batting average right around 270. So, you know, for people who have been saying, hey, if his on-base percentage can only get 2, fill in the blank, you take 350 from now until the day he retires.
Interesting, really, as close as the corner infielders are playing with Billy up there, he still squared the bunt there on that first delivery. I mean, Rizzo's way in on the grass. Chris Bryant was Bryant was about here on the first pitch. He's now since moved back a little bit. What the strategy for Hamilton would be basically bunt the ball right back up the middle at John Lester. Make him field the ball and see if he can overcome his phobia of throwing to first base.
Struck him out on a breaking ball, and that's 3 strikeouts in a row now for John Lester. His first time through the Reds lineup, he's fanned 5.
5 out of the last 6 is what he's retired by strikeout. About his 3rd favorite pitch, but he keeps it down, and that's really been his calling card pretty much his entire career, being able to just throw everything right at the bottom of the knees.
Peraza popped up to the right fielder in the Reds' first inning, strike 1. Lester chalks up his 2nd straight 1-2-3 inning. We've played 3, all Chicago so far, leading by 4.
standings. Pittsburgh leads Milwaukee by a half game. St. Louis 2-back Chicago, and of course Cincinnati. We've got a showstopper for you. It's the Brewers at the Twins in Milwaukee. Just keep on keeping on. Jesus Aguilar, 2-run homer here in the third inning. That made it 4-0. They are through 6 now, 5-0. The Brewers lead it over the Twins. So the Brewers, boy, a surprise last year. They keep right on rolling. Back upstairs to Tom and Chris, guys.
Well, we talked about it the other day, Pick. You know, of the 4 teams that you would consider to be, I guess, considered to be surprises. I don't even know if I'd include Milwaukee with that group. When you look at what they did last year, Zobrist leads off an inning for the 3rd time of the 4 we've played. He's out. And then they played the way they played, and you bring in Christian Yelich. You sign Lorenzo Cain as a free agent. Yeah, some people might say, hey, you know, is their pitching good enough? But the bottom line is they had a good year last year, and they added 2 really good players to that lineup. But the Pirates were pretty much picked right there with the Reds to be way, way down the trail behind the trio of Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Louis in the Central Division. And granted, you're only roughly 45 games into the year, so we'll see how it all plays out. But the 3 biggest surprises in the National League would be the Pirates, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. Atlanta's 10 games over 500. Philly's 9 over. Nobody saw that coming.
I don't think anybody saw that line drive coming off the bat of Bryant either. That ball was a sizzler. Second hit on the night, sandwiched around sandwiched around 1 strikeout. Boy, does he clear his hips. I mean, for a tall guy, and when you're as tall as Chris Bryant, I think he's about 6 feet 5 inches tall. That's a big strike zone to cover. But he makes himself more like about 5'10" by the way he crouches down and kind of shortens the strike zone. And it gives a pitcher much less, you know, up and down, north and south to pitch to. By comparison, you remember seeing maybe Cody Bellinger last week when the Reds were playing the Dodgers. He's got a very straight stand-up stance as that ball's coming in. Likes to drop the bat head on the lower part of the zone. But that north and south for him is very big, and the Reds exploited him at the top of the zone. Bryant doesn't give you a chance in any one spot to do that.
1 on, 1 out. Rizzo 1 of 2 in the game. Knocked in a run with a single in the first inning. Good sharp breaking ball there. They must have had some rain issues tonight in St. Louis. They were supposed to have started about 45 minutes ago, and they're just getting underway now. That's a good series. Phillies and the Cardinals both playing good baseball. Pirates are trailing their game. They're in the 9th inning in Pittsburgh, but they're down by just a run to San Diego. 3-2 in the 9th.
You know, that last pitch that Homer throws right there, that 92-mile-an-hour fastball, you know, your head 0-2, you're thinking of a waste pitch. But that really was a waste pitch because it never did even look like a strike to Rizzo. I'd rather see him waste that pitch inside off the plate rather than outside off the plate. At least get Rizzo to move his feet a little bit. Get out of the batter's box, get resituated.
1-2 on Rizzo. Fly ball into right field. Winker will have room. You can tell that got in on Rizzo a little bit. And it still carried all the way to the warning track. Boy, it's funny when you come back home after the last 2 ballparks we've been in, especially the last one we were in. That ball would have been caught 50 feet in front of the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you move another 15 yards to the left of Winker. It's only 309 down the line. but they have the big high wall. But it jets out 309 to 365 before it ever hits that power alley at what, 421? Is that where that was? Two away for Contreras. Straight up in the air, and Bailey's going to have a scoreless inning. All right, Homer hanging around. Reds will bat in the bottom of the fourth. Part of the order coming up, down 4-0. Had it going on. Fading back to the last homestand. Carried it right into the road trip. Wound up the National League's Player of the Week. Second Red to win that award this year. Joey Votto won it in April. So how does he stack up against those he's competing against on a daily basis? Take a look inside some of these numbers for Scooter Gennett. Third best batting average, third most hits, 7 hits where he had 3 or more in a game. And he will lead off the Reds' 4th inning. He hit a line drive caught by the third baseman Chris Bryant the first inning. 4 runs, 8 hits for Chicago. No runs and no hits for the Cubs. Left-hander John Lester facing the Cincinnati lineup. The only Red to reach was an 11-pitch at bat, concluding in a walk to Eugenio Suarez, who waits on deck. That was in the first inning. Pulled foul. Slow breaking ball from Lester there.
I think the biggest thing that Scooter Gennett is trying to do is to show that last year's breakout is just no fluke. He's a free agent after this season. No, he's not. No, he's arbitration eligible for the 3rd time, I think, which would make him a very expensive player for the Reds, but I think there's something to prove there for Gennett as well. I mean, he had a huge breakout year last year after he finally took over the second base job from Jose Peraza. In a ridiculously hot streak right now where he's had multi-hit game after multi-hit game. And after swinging that ball hard the other way the first time up, it looks like Lester's just going to try to keep it in right on his hands. Why not?
Under the glove of a diving Rizzo, so he does indeed hook one to the right side. Take what the pitcher gives you, and that's the first base hit for the Reds against Lester tonight.
Well, he got a slow breaking ball at that time, and it was a really good pitch by Lester. I mean, Contreras wanted it down on the ground. Look how low that pitch is and away from Gennett, but he still is able to get it on the barrel.
Now, we've chronicled many, many, many times through the years, and Lester has made over 100 starts now as a Chicago Cub. Tonight is 105th. You know, we've chronicled how he has a very difficult time throwing the ball to first base. Call it the yips, call it whatever you want, a mental block. But that's been his story his whole career. And, you know, strangely, teams just don't seem, or at least the ones we see with the Reds, just don't seem to take much advantage of it.
And this would be a great example right here, because if you're Billy Hamilton, you're going to try a stolen base on anybody. But the guys who don't normally run are those that need to take advantage of an opportunity that Lester gives you. He still does not throw to first base. They worked on it in spring training. And his throws to first base were basically bounces to first base, so like a bounce pass.
Now, the flip-flop of all that is you can get a much bigger lead, anticipating that he's not going to throw over to first. Well, the other side of it, outside of that last time, that's about the highest leg kick I think I've ever seen Lester take delivering to the plate. But generally, he gets rid of the ball pretty quick.
Yeah, really good slide step.
So, you know, he counters his inability by coming to the plate. There, he picked it up high again that time. This will back up Bryant, and they get the out. And Suarez still nursing that tender ankle that he rolled over the other day in San Francisco. Just does his best to get up the line. He's out there playing hurt tonight.
There's so much wet mud and dirt around every other bases, even at home plate. Watch Suarez slip a little bit as he comes out right there. It looks like he slipped right on top of the home plate.
One ball, one strike on Joey Votto. Votto looked at strike three his first time up, and he was really upset with himself.
Yeah, he looked actually at the last couple of fastballs in the at-bat. One was low and inside. The other was pretty much right on the knees down the middle. And this time through, Lester's throwing him a lot of breaking balls. Here comes another one. Strikeout pitch on a 2-2 count his first time up.
So we had the reverse camera when he was walking off the field, and you could read his lips easily. How can I take that pitch? Hook to the right side, and Lester takes care of the Reds. They do get their first hit, but no damage done after the double play ball. come together. And by your local Ford dealer, Ford, go further. Reds and the Cubs will play 4 games in roughly 72 hours. A little less than that, in fact. Hour and a half delay to this one due to rain in downtown Cincinnati. It's funny, you talk to people on the west side of town and talk to some on the east side of town. I'm talking about a number of miles out, maybe 10, 12. And they'll tell you while it was raining down here, that weather band we showed you early in the weather report before the game was a very thin weather band that was coming up from the southeast and basically just continuing to roll as it is now right above downtown Cincinnati and straight north. They weren't getting any rain to speak of.
We'll talk about continuing to roll. That would be Addison Russell. 3 hits on the nights, all singles, and he's spreading them out all over the place. One to right center field, one to dead right field his last time up, and that shot between the third baseman and the shortstop.
Russell had been struggling so badly, and then 3 days ago he had a big base hit late in the game to tie it against Atlanta, a game the Cubs would end up winning. And after he got to second base after knocking in a tying run with a double, showed a lot of emotion out at second base, and Joe Madden said, that's what I've been looking for from this kid, some fire back. And of course, fire frequently comes after success.
I mean, that .250 batting average that Russell has right now would be a career high.
That ball is hammered into left center field by Schwarber, and that's up against the wall. Russell being waved around by Brian Butterfield, and he will easily score. And the Cubs now lead 5-0. Schwarber, his first hit, drives in his 18th run of the year.
Third base coaches are going to be aggressive here tonight because by the time you get to the baseball, I mean, you're slipping and sliding as outfielders. The ball is going to be wet. This one goes all the way to the left center field gap out there and kind of rests until one of the outfielders can grab it. Billy Hamilton gets it, and Schwarber drives one in. 10 hits already on the night for the Cubbies.
And only 1 or 2, if that, would you describe finding a hole.
Yeah.
Contreras hit the ball hard, but he hit it between the third baseman and the shortstop in the first inning. Outside of that, it has been one missile after the next. I mean, balls really squared up. Now, Baez wouldn't be a part of that crowd, at least so far. He has struck out swinging and bounced into a double play that brought home a run in the third inning. And fooled badly there.
Now, the double play ball was hit sharply, but it was right at the second baseman. This comes under the category of don't tell me hitters aren't guessing at the plate. Because he's looking outside, probably looking breaking ball. Liable to get one here.
Not quite sure who called timeout there. Baez never left the batter's box. He still hasn't. Maybe Tucker Barnhart. 0-2 the count. There's a second game in a row where Bailey has given up a double-digit hit total in 5 innings or fewer. He gave up exactly 10 in 5 innings, but only 3 runs that last start in LA. He's still looking for his first out in the 5th inning tonight. And the Cubbies have 10 hits. Second time tonight we've seen Jackson Stevens up and throwing in the Cincinnati bullpen. And now timeout called again. Bailey the one waiting on Baez this time. And now home run okay is assigned with Barnhart. Still 1-2. Peraza thought about going to third. He looked like he had a play there. Of course, you know, if you don't get it, then you got him on the corners.
It's a heads-up play by Schwarber because he did not hesitate one flinch at all. I mean, the rule of thumb, of course, for the runner at second base, anything to your left, when you're taking a lead off second base, you're automatically going to third. And he made it go to his left because he was on his way to third base already. The other thing that was problematic for Peraza was the fact that he didn't have much of a throwing lane there. With Schwarber going right there, he's going to run, you know, pretty much in the same direction that the throw's going to have to go. So now the Cubs have another runner at third base with just one out. It's the first time the Reds will pitch to Ian Happ.
Infield in, and the breaking ball is down and in. Happ will finally get a chance to swing the bat. Intentionally walked into first, intentionally walked into third.
Well, never mind.
Never mind is right. The Memorial Tournament presented by Nationwide, coming to beautiful Muirfield Village Golf Club. You can make it a 4-day weekend. That's May the 31st through June the 3rd. Order your badges at memorialbadges.com. It's always one of the top stops, top 4, 5 on the PGA Tour. Lester trying to advance a runner with a bunt.
Well, he's trying to advance both runners, actually. I think the way that he'd like to do that is get that bunt down the first baseline. Although with Suarez's ankle the way it is, I'm wondering how aggressive he can be running down the line to try to field a bunt. It's a nice play right here. You don't very often see a pick off to third base. Perfectly legal, as long as there's a third baseman over there to cover the bag.
Well, if you're Bailey, naturally, you'll take an out anywhere you can get it. Runners are on the corners. 5 runs, 10 hits for Chicago. And Lester pulls the bat away on a breaking ball. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Now what the Reds are trying to do defensively is just keep Suarez at third base, very close to the bag, so Schwarber can't get much of a lead. You know, when you're leading off third base, you can only go as far as the third baseman goes, or risk being picked off.
Here comes the runner to the plate. And I don't know if Joey Votto ever saw the runner coming to the plate. It didn't appear as though either A, he saw him, or B, if he did, he must not have thought he had a play at the plate. So that'll be a squeeze run batted in and a sacrifice by Lester.
I think he might be talking that over right now with Scooter Gennett. He comes in, looks like he's already made his mind up before the runner was even about halfway that he was going to first base right there. And you can see Homer Bailey kind of drop his head when he sees his first baseman flip it to first to get the easy out.
Watch Votto's body angle here. He turns, instead of coming in where the ball would have been in front of him and his left foot in front of the right to pick the ball up and just in a natural flow go to the plate, he half circled the ball there and put himself in a position where his right foot, as a right-handed thrower, was facing the plate to turn and throw back to first base.
He fielded it like there was nobody at third.
Exactly. And had a very odd look to it. Really odd. See, by the time, even if you noticed right there, because of being a right-handed thrower, I only bring up the body position because there's no way at that point he can turn and throw the ball to the plate. With a pitcher running, who's just going to jog down to first base, Chris, I don't know, you tell me, it seems to me that if you're going to come down the line as a right-handed throwing first baseman, you only have one shot to pick the ball up with your left foot facing the plate and throw to the plate. You can field the ball in that position and still turn around and throw a pitcher out behind you if you don't have a play at the plate.
I would agree with that. I think, Tom, I've always been taught that you're making your decision where you're going to go with the ball before you field the ball. Because by the time you field it and then look around, it's too late. So a little timer in your head starts to go. And in that case, you see the runner coming in from third, so you can judge whether you have a chance to get him or not. Didn't look like he was really interested in trying to play at the plate.
And again, you know, no one will know until after the game. And, you know, in the grand scheme of things, the way this is trending, this game right now, make no mistake, there's a long way to go in it. But I'm not sure anybody even asked that question anyway. "6-0 Chicago after the RBI sacrifice from Lester, and that's strike 3 to Zobrist, which will end the inning. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did we have the count wrong up there, or was that called a ball? Apparently it was called a ball. Okay. That looked like a pretty good pitch. And insult added to injury. That is 5 walks in the game by Bailey. 3 of those are intentional walks to Ian Happ. So Jim Riggleman will now come get Bailey. This has been another disastrous start for Bailey. I mean, there's no other way to put it. 6 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Mentioned 5 walks, 3 intentional. Bailey strikes out 3. And the Cubs get 10 hits. So will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. We're back in a moment. at the ballpark and buy the Marvel Superhero ticket package and take home an exclusive Captain America bobblehead. Now, limited quantities of this collection bobblehead and the collectible bobblehead are available. Purchase today at Reds.com/themes. Again, a reminder, Marvel bobblehead is only available with purchase of this ticket package. So a double switch made by the Reds. I mean, we saw earlier, Suarez is just not 100% tonight. Blandino will take over for him. When the Reds got on the team plane Wednesday, leaving San Francisco after Suarez had injured his ankle the night before, he was in a walking boot. Jackson Stevens takes over on the mound. So Stevens following Bailey here in the 5th. Reds have now gone exactly 5 games since they last had a starter pitch longer than 4 innings. 4 innings. Correct myself. Bailey pitches 4 2/3 tonight. Castillo is the last starter. He went 6+ his last outing in Los Angeles. We'll see him tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. We talked about the Cubs' domination of the Reds here in recent years. In the last 40 games they've played, the Cubs have scored 5 runs or more in 32 of the 40. Tonight being the 32nd. Of the prior 31 where they've scored 5 or more, the Cubs' record in those games is 27-4. Slow roller down to third. This should be the final out on the force out at second base. Nice job by Stevens. Cubs get 2 and lead by 6. During our game tonight, Tanya Gemmer. I hope I'm saying that right, Tanya. Maybe Tanya. I hope I didn't botch both of them. She's out in Milford as soon as you cross the county line. When this beautiful new Tundra, she would, thanks to your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. They're dialed in any number of watering holes right now through Old Town Milford, watching Reds baseball. First pitch swinging. A drive into left center field. Gone over the wall for Adam Newball. And the Reds on the board, a 6-1 game.
Well, Duvall's thinking that John Lester wants to be as efficient as possible. He's just going to start piling strike after strike in there. And he gets one right above the waist and gives it a high, majestic drive. It just bounces right into the stands.
Home run number 9 for Adam. He has 24 batted in. And here's Winker. Very light rain, lighter than it was a little bit earlier, but rain nonetheless continuing to fall, and Lester trying to do some gardening around the area where his right front foot lands to plant and deliver the ball. In there, a strike, 2-1. I don't know if Winker's upset with the umpire or upset with himself. I believe the umpire. And they still get Winker.
Oh, wow. I'll give Rizzo credit for staying with it. I mean, he was trying to make something out of nothing right here. He didn't get in front of the ball in the very first place. Kind of fielded it off to his side a little bit, went off of the heel of his glove, but recovered quickly, and there was Lester on the bag to get Winker. And that's not really busting it out of the box, but you know, you can see why. You hit it right at the first baseman, and it looks like he's going to field it. And then 2 steps out of the box, you realize it goes off his glove, and that's too long. The natural hesitation would be when it's right at him and it looks like it's in his glove. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but I can see, we see it happen all the time.
All right, here's Tucker Barnhart with 1 out, 1 in. Still a long way to go in this one. The Reds are not going to start waving the white flag here in a 5-run game in just the bottom of the 5th inning. This team's been scoring a lot of runs lately. In fact, they've been either first and second, not only in the National League, but in Major League Baseball in terms of runs scored. First in the National League, second in Major League Baseball, going back to the 23rd of April, and that date is only significant. It's not just some random date you pick out of a hat and say, okay, this is the day we started scoring a lot of runs. It happened to be the day that both Eugenio Suarez and then 3 days later, Scott Schebler came off the disabled list. So they were really at full arsenal from guys that were going to be getting significant playing time and figure to be productive offensive players, which both have done, especially Suarez. Suarez has been among the most productive players in all of Major League Baseball. How about a play by Barnhart? Somehow, some way getting his bat even on that pitch. That would have hit him in the back knee that he swung and missed.
Well, Tucker has not faced Lester all that many times, but when he has, he's done a pretty good job against him. Coming into this ball game, he is 3 for 5. That's a nice 600 batting average with a walk against John Lester.
Got him swinging, and for Lester, that's his 6th strikeout. And now a quick message from Miami Valley Gaming.
Get ready to get lucky.
Well, the rain's starting to really come down now. This is the hardest. In fact, it's rained all night, even before the game when we were in an hour-and-a-half delay. Just got to hope this is temporary and moves through so you can continue this game. Although, of course, with the Reds batting here in the bottom of the 5th inning, once the final out is recorded, it would be an official game, but rest assured, they would still have to wait a while before officially calling this game.
And it would also have to show on the radar that there's not much of an opportunity to finish the game later on this evening. Of course, once a game begins, before the game begins, whether you play or not is in the hands of the home team. Once a game begins, all those decisions are made by the umpiring crew.
And that's strike 3 to Blandino, his first time up. 7 strikeouts for Lester. Reds get on the board. They get a solo home run from Adam Duvall. Go to the 6th, 6-1 Chicago. We invite you to keep up with Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio Instagram. Get highlights, player reactions, and game insights. Follow Fox Sports OH on Instagram. Jackson Stevens, a clean slate. He's stranded 2, getting the final out in the 5th inning. So here we are in the 6th. Chicago's 6, the Reds 1. Rizzo retired to begin the inning.
You know, you don't think of a long man or a mop-up man as all that valuable of a pitcher, but this is an opportunity for Stevens right here to not only help the ball club by giving him some innings, but also help himself. You know, in the big scheme of things, you have to remember that Stevens is only 24 years old. In fact, he only turned 24 just about a week ago. So he was originally drafted and signed by the Reds out of high school in Oxford, Alabama. Went to Oxford High School and spent 6 seasons down in the minor leagues. He got his call up when he was 23 years old. So they did a nice job last year. 4 starts, 7 games overall, got himself a couple of wins.
And you know, a guy like him says, I'm sure, you mentioned, just still so young, where you know he's got a chance to show some of the brass. Not only I could be a long man and hang around and be on a big league ball club, which is where you start when you're that young. You just want to get on the team and establish yourself. But I'm sure there's a part of him, because we've talked about it earlier, where he's always been a starting pitcher coming up through the Reds organization. But he says, hey, you know, maybe you might want to slot me in there if some of these other guys you have in front of me on the totem pole start to struggle or struggle to find consistency. Let's put it that way.
Well, when you're not a top round draft pick, and he was an 18th round pick, you're always going to be secondary to those guys who they've got more, you know, bonus money invested in. And that's just the way it is. For every chance an 18th round draft pick gets, a number 1 round pick is going to get 10 chances. So you have to keep battling and keep battling, but you have to also remember that you're not playing only for your team. There may be other ball clubs out there looking at this guy saying, you know what, maybe the Reds don't know what they have right here. Maybe if we do a deal with the Reds at some point, we can get Stevens thrown into that deal.
And that kind of thing happens a lot.
All the time.
Hey, let's be honest about it. I mean, when you go back and look at the deal the Reds made with the Giants with Mike Leake, you know, the young pitcher who's been hanging around in the minor leagues, I mean, he was a number 1 or 2 ranked prospect in the Giants organization as a pitcher. Well, we've never heard a word from him for 3 years now. Meanwhile, Adam Duvall, I'm not going to call Adam Duvall a throw-in, but I can promise you somewhere along the way, as Russell picks up yet another base hit, he's 4 for 4 tonight, somewhere along the way there was a Red scout that saw Adam Duvall play probably for the AAA team of the Giants and said, you know what, it's a kid from down the road, he's got some talent, we have a need, he might be a guy we could just see, well, let's see if they could put him in that deal.
And hoping that the Giants would have given up on Duvall, which they did. And Kiri Maya is the pitcher that you're thinking of.
4 hits for Russell. That matches his career high. Runner takes off.
Now, certainly the game not out of reach right now. The Cubs are going to continue to be aggressive. They don't steal a lot of bases, the Cubs do. They stole a bunch against the Chicago White Sox when they had an interleague series in Chicago. But other than that, they're not really a running team.
No, they're a high on-base percentage, hit the ball in the seats team. A lot of extra base hits. They've got a lot of very talented players. I mean, there is just no doubt about it. This team just oozes talent when it takes a field, especially that infield. And that's not shortchanging any of the outfielders, but, you know, they've kind of had their ups and downs. I mean, Happ's been a 200 hitter. Schwarber's been sent to the minor leagues. But those guys in the infield and the catcher, those cats are great.
Well, I tell you what, Tom and Chris, Shannon did a great job up there. Unfortunately, she did not win, so she does not get to go to Coney Island for the finals of the Nathan's Beef Franks. How many can you eat? 22. The winner had 24. How about that?
Now, Pick, I'm not going to let you get out of here because were you not the guy that, pulled a fast one on Miss Ford and made her a late contestant in that hot dog eating contest?
Our good friend Bill Reinberger said he would love to have Shannon in that competition.
That's not what I asked you.
Yes, Tom, you know me well.
Boy, you are cold, man. I mean,
She enjoyed it. She had fun.
Well, we're going to have to catch up with her and ask her about that. Of course, Hall of Famer Johnny Bench in the ballpark is part of that hot dog eating contest tonight. Johnny did not participate.
Publicly.
He was also here for the play ball event before the game tonight, I'm assuming representing Nathan's. And then he caught the ceremonial first pitch tonight. Of course, his number 5 retired. Of all those great players from the Big Red Machine, the two who have numbers retired, having spent their entire careers here. Well, I beg your pardon. Davey Concepcion's jersey is not retired here. It is? Okay. Should be. But number 5, Johnny Bench, and number 13, David Concepcion. Straight up in the air. You look at some of the other numbers. You have number 1, Fred Hutchison, manager. Then you go right around a circle there and you look at, the guys and where they played and who they played with. You have number 5, Johnny Bench, and of course those jerseys are right underneath the press box level here. You have number 20, Frank Robinson, and we know that Robinson was traded away. Hard down the left field line by Peraza and foul. Boy, he killed that ball. That's off the fade. Did that go to the third deck or the second deck?
Facing of the second deck.
Second deck.
Well, we've seen it many times with Peraza on pitches that are on the inner part of the plate. He's got great bat speed there. That's why when pitchers can get ahead of him, they'll try to go down and away.
So 2 away in the inning, and here is Scooter Jeanette. Scooter 1 of 2 as lined out to the third baseman Chris Bryant. And then Lester changed up his strategy going after Jeanette, started working him down and in, and Jeanette hooked one right to the right of a diving Anthony Rizzo for a base hit into right field in the 4th inning.
You're a bit surprised that all the Lester's still out there in the 6th inning. I mean, he's got a two-hitter going, 1 run. But here's a guy that throws, 3,000 pitches or 3,100 pitches a year. And, you're getting older and older. You're wondering how many pitches you got left in your arm, and you're wondering, well, how many more is Madden going to give him?
Well, I think to your point, I mean, I would certainly think that this 6th inning will probably be the last. You look at Lester's games this year, he's actually pitching deeper into games this year than he did last year. Now, last year he had an injury problem. We were there the night where he got lit up in the 1st inning by the Reds at Wrigley Field, had to walk off the mound. He wound up going on the disabled list. That was in the 2nd week of August, the beginning of the 3rd week of August. But, you look at his numbers this year, he's gone 6, 6, 7, pitched into the 6th, 3 straight games before they had to take him out here recently. So perhaps they'll just give him the 6 with his comfortable lead, 2 outs and nobody on, and call it a night. His spot is due up 3rd in the top of the 7th inning. It's a hardy bunch. It came down here tonight, a little better than 22,000. They knew that rain was in the forecast, and I'll tell you, a lot of them have found a way to hang in there. Now, you got to look up underneath the overhang, especially in the lower deck where most of them are now. After having sat in the rain the entire game, it has rained all night and starting to pick up a little bit more right now. Tell you what, Jeanette up there grinding in a bat in a 5-run game.
I was just noticing the same thing. The guy just does not want to give up in a bat at all.
I got him on a fastball down and away. That was a good pitch there by Lester. He has 8 strikeouts. We'll find out if his night's over. 6-1 comes in front. We go to the 7th. Includes an exclusive Snoopy bobblehead. Plus Peanuts characters will be here at the ballpark. Purchase today at reds.com/scenes. And again, we remind you, the Snoopy bobblehead is only available with purchase of this ticket package. The rain really coming down. The grounds crew continues to do the best it can out there to keep this surface playable. The infield we're primarily talking about. There's such a great drainage system under this park and so many others around baseball that the outfield will drain pretty quickly. And you've got the early rendition of the Snoopy bobblehead here.
I'll tell you what, not bad at all, is it?
It's not bad. I mean, matter of fact, it's pretty cool.
It is. We're going to show it to you here before too long. We hope. I'm going to set it right here on my desk. Maybe just by breaking the Snoopy bobblehead out here a little bit early, we'll get a little bit of luck going on.
I remember years ago in Anaheim, and man, I had a chance to do a lot of those Angels games that year. I mean, it was the goofiest thing when it started, when they did that rally monkey thing. It was up on a scoreboard. It wasn't a bobblehead, but it was a real monkey that they had put in an Angels uniform and just filmed the monkey jumping up and down in the air. You know, wearing an Angels hat and wearing an Angels jersey. And they'd start playing that thing when they'd fall behind, like every time they came to bat from the 7th, the 8th, the 9th inning. And you know, they had one of those miracle years. They won the World Series. And you know, that thing went like wildfire. And when they got to the playoffs that year, I mean to tell you, you showed up at the ballpark, and I happened to do that year they played in the American League Championship Series. I had them in both the Division Series when they beat the Yankees in the LCS, and there were tens of thousands of people that were in the stands with those stuffed monkeys wrapped around their neck. I mean, it was unbelievable.
I couldn't believe it. The rally monkey. I mean, you didn't go anywhere without it.
It was incredible.
Now, we're not predicting that Snoopy
Well, if they win tonight,
is going to have that kind of run, but
hey, back then there was no social media. Yeah, if the Reds come back and you start hitting that bobblehead on Snoopy bopping up and down, I can promise you that's going to have a good run going into tomorrow. Doubleheader. Here's Ian Happ. Now, Chris, I know you'll remember this game because you were doing the Reds games. I was doing the game for the Cubs. Ian Happ has been intentionally walked 3 times in this game, but that is nothing compared to May the 22nd, 1990. As Happ jam shot flare down the line for a base hit. And this will be a double for Ian Happ. But in that game, the Reds walked Andre Dawson of the Cubs intentionally 5 times in one game.
that was when Lou Piniella was at the helm, right? Was that 1990? Is that what you said?
In fact, that was a series. That was a series where Piniella will be forever remembered as throwing the base. Twice. That was against the Cubs in that May series of 1990.
You know, when we get him in town, I've got to maybe ask him about that, about what was the play that precipitated that, because so many people remember Lou and throwing the base and very little about other stuff that he did, which had a tremendous career in just about everything in baseball.
It was a call at first, and I can't remember if it was a call at the base or whether it was an appeal call. But clearly he was upset with the first base umpire, and naturally that's the base where he went out. He did not come out to argue at home and then all of a sudden walk up to first base. I don't recall that being the case. That's a long time ago. Gosh, that's a long time ago. Well, it's hard to believe how long ago that is. All right, well, Joe Luckup is telling me he thinks that happened later that year. And I'm sure Joel's right. He's a lot younger with a much sharper mind. 1-1 pitch. Broken bat. And that ball gets by. Jeanette's throw is in time to get a hustling Albert Almora Jr.
I'll tell you what, Scooter Jeanette, he just comes to play. This ball is just a saw job by Jackson Stevens, but somehow it gets by him, and Jeanette is not going to give up on it. Almora even slides head first into first base. Well, that's a good play.
Cubs were debating taking another look at that, and they decided not to. What a night for Lester. Strikes out 8, walks 1, allows 2 hits and a run in 6 innings. Trying to go to 4-1 on the year. Well, we were talking about walking Andre Dawson 5 times in one game. But tonight is only the second time in the last 20 years the Reds have intentionally walked any batter 3 times in the game. And you can understand who the other one was back in 2006. That was big Ryan Howard. That's when he was just mauling National League pitching. That's when that Philadelphia team was just getting revved up.
Boy, you're not kidding.
Ben Zobrist, this is his 5th plate appearance, and we are in the 7th inning. Cubs lead 6-1. Runner at third, 2 outs. That's quite a play by Tucker Barnhart, preventing a 7th Chicago run.
That's one of those curveballs where you're ahead 0-2 and you just want to snap it off so hard that there's no way the hitter's going to be able to put his bat on it. And you snap it off so hard that you get your wish because you bounce it in front of home plate.
Against a shift, and Peraza makes a nice play to throw out Zobrist, and that'll end the inning. Live brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. That'll be coming your way after the game. Now you have the early preview of the Snoopy bobblehead delivered to you ASAP after we were talking about it a little while ago.
You know, I'm not sure what a big bobblehead fan you are or not, Tom. Maybe you've got a man cave with, 100 bobbleheads. I don't, but I may like this one. And this is pretty cool. Got his name on the back, of course, Snoopy.
The kids will love this one.
Yeah, this is a good one.
That's a cool one.
Transcends only that you don't have to be a huge baseball fan. It may make you be a big baseball fan.
That's right. That's big league bobblehead.
All right. Rub the nose for good luck. Come on, Snoopy. Reds need some runs.
All right, let's see if the Reds can do it. A couple of changes for the Cubs. Almora, who just pinch hit a moment ago, he'll stay in to play center. And that will move Happ over to left, and the night is over for Kyle Schwarber. And the Cubbies go to their bullpen. And a fastball is in there, a strike from the left-hander Justin Wilson.
We've seen a lot of Wilson over the years when he was wearing a Pittsburgh Pirates uniform. Now 30 years old, really struggled out of the bullpen to start the season, but he's thrown the ball extremely well lately.
You know, some people might be sitting there yelling and screaming at the television about Stevens batting here. I mean, look, you know, we documented earlier, 2 days ago, Matt Harvey went 4 innings. The day before that, Tyler Mahle went 3 1/3. The day before that, Sal Romano went 2 1/3. You've got to go all the way back to the final game of the Dodgers series where Castillo went 6. And bear in mind, that came on the heels of Bailey going 5, Harvey going 4, Mahle going 5. So, you know, there have been huge amounts of innings here gobbled up by the bullpen, and needless to say, the Reds have a double header tomorrow. And they are trying to save every bullet they can down there, and that's a reason, even down 5 runs here in the 7th inning, Jim Riggleman is going to not only let Stevens bat, but he's going to leave Stevens in the game to pitch. Stevens has only given up 2 hits in 2 1/3 innings and no runs. Following Homer Bailey, who gave up 10 hits and 6 earned runs in 4 2/3 here tonight. Votto 0 for 2. There's no activity in the Reds bullpen. I mean, Stevens is down there carrying on and talking to guys, like, you know, visiting guys in between innings when you're still in a game is not a big deal.
Very
so
personable
frequently
guy.
see that.
I mean, he'll talk to anybody at any time.
It's quite refreshing to see a pitcher that'll actually, you know, talk to people in between innings while they're still in the game. That's one of those things about baseball that, now you would be able to talk about this, Chris Welsh, because, you know, that was your craft for a long time. But I try to compare it to other sports. Now, baseball is far more, at the end of the day, it's an individual game. You can call it a team game, but there's one guy throwing the ball and there's one guy trying to hit it. Now, what happens after it's put in play, you know, that's where it becomes a team game. But when it comes to the pitchers, I've always kind of been fascinated by that whole thing. You know, you see, say, a quarterback in the NFL, right, which is very much a team game. But the quarterback, you know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of plays. There's a lot of changes you're making. You're having to call plays at the line of scrimmage, audible, all these kinds of things. And then, oh, by the way, you have 300 men trying to, or 300-pound men trying to kill you. They run the 40 in about 4.7. And yet you see quarterbacks during the game, and they still kind of talk to other players. You know, basketball, you'll see LeBron James in a timeout, and of course he's talking to guys on the floor, and, you know, obviously much more of a team game again. Tennis players in individual sports are completely separated, and golfers are interesting because that's the ultimate individual sport, and some of them will talk to fans and other players, and some of them want nothing to do with anybody.
Yeah.
But it seems like, I don't know, 98% of the pitchers, that while they're still in a game, you rarely will see them talk to anybody but maybe, a pitching coach every now and again?
I would say especially the starting pitcher.
Yeah. Now, why, based on your experience, were you like that?
No, I actually I talked because it was probably nervous talk.
Sure.
On my part. Some guys like to do that just to kind of get loose of some energy. But it's kind of funny because, you know, when we ride over on the team bus, and we call it the team bus, but that's become the broadcaster's bus
Right.
because all the players show up at noon nowadays. And we go over the team bus, you know, 3 hours before game time. And the only player that's normally on that bus is the starting pitcher that day. And that much time before the start of the game, you feel it's okay to say hi and engage him a little bit of talk. But once he gets to the clubhouse, you know, no one really wants to talk to that guy unless he has a reputation of being, you know, one of those nervous types that has to keep talking right up until the first pitch. But you're right. Some guys put that scowl on and that's it.
Oh,
you don't even want to.
Some guys, it's a day before they pitch. You know, Tyler Miley, though, strikes me, and we'll see him, you know, on this homestand. Now, he's one of those guys, when he gets on the bus, you can talk to him and just carry on a conversation. You know, we were talking to him the other day. He wasn't feeling well, and we were asking how he was doing. And, you know, he didn't give you the standard, I'm fine. He'd be like, well, you know, I think I got this infection thing going on my chest from taking some antibiotics, but I'm going to be all right. And, you know, a regular conversation. And his, I don't know him well enough to say if it's a nervous energy. I just found him to be just a pretty easygoing guy.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Strikeout to Duvall. You know, Justin Wilson, kind of an interesting deal. And this is what you can do if you're the Chicago Cubs. You know, you're the reigning World Series champions. You're missing a piece in the bullpen, and you really need a left-hander. So you look around, and there's Justin Wilson, who's had really great success as a setup man, left-handed reliever with the Pittsburgh Pirates. So you're the Detroit Tigers. And you have this guy, and you're really tired of Rodriguez, who was their Francisco Rodriguez, who was their closer. So by the time mid-May rolls around, you elevate Justin Wilson to be the closer. And all of a sudden you made your setup man much more valuable to another team. So when the Cubs come in and make the trade, they're actually trading for a closer and not a setup man. So instead of getting, you know, maybe a B-level player in return, they're getting an A-level player in return, Jamer Candelario, and he's playing third base as a 24-year-old for the Detroit Tigers. But it didn't hurt the Cubs because Candelario is not going to beat out Chris Bryant.
No.
So he's going nowhere, right? So it was a deal that made everybody happy, but, you know, you've got to be very happy for the Detroit Tigers. Rebuilding and getting that kind of a player.
Sure.
Hitting 272 or so, I think, so far this year.
One ball, two strikes on Jesse Winker. Virtually everything is a final aside for one American League game out west. I guess the White Sox are still at it. A game in the eighth inning, 9-5, trailing the Rangers. Red Sox lost tonight. Yankees lost tonight. And the Brewers in interleague play beat Minnesota 8-3. Tribe losing again tonight, falling to the Astros 4-1. Boy, they just haven't gotten it going yet. Winker out of there swinging. Cubs will bat in the eighth inning with a 6-1 lead. First 5 batters, 5 hits, 3 Chicago runs. RBIs by Rizzo, Contreras, and Russell. Russell's had a big night. He has 4 hits tonight, matching his career high. And they didn't need much the way John Lester threw the ball tonight. 2 hits, 1 run, 6 innings, fanned 8, walked only 1 batter, and that was in the first inning on an 11-pitch at bat to Suarez. Reds did get on the board, finally touching up Lester. A solo home run by Adam Duvall, his 9th that came leading off the 5th inning. I'll tell you though, a nice story so far in this game, and he has at least 1 more inning, if not 2, is Jackson Stevens. He's gone 2 1/3 of 2-hit shutout baseball. He's not walked a batter, nor has he fanned a batter. Got a tall order here with Bryant, Rizzo, and Contreras. Strike 1.
You know, Stevens, I think, does a pretty good job of hiding the baseball. If you watch his delivery, he gets a real good turn with his upper body. And then when he breaks his hands and comes to the plate, he kind of flashes his glove almost from the same arm slot that the ball's coming from.
There's his first strikeout.
Good afternoon and good night there, all on fastballs. Little sneaky fastball running right in on Bryant. That's all he threw in the entire at bat. And here's the delivery.
Anthony Rizzo, 1 for 4, singled, knocked in a run, scored in a 3-run first. He's hit 3 fly ball outs since. Let's spin it up there, a slow 74-mile-per-hour breaking ball.
Yeah, you know, there aren't all that many slow breaking balls nowadays, but I mean, he's got really good spin on his ball, and it just has a nice bite to it.
Hooked into right field, a second hit in the game for Rizzo. Our Lowe's whole team together, and what a team it's been in that Reds bullpen. Surprisingly, among the very, very best here in the month of May in Major League Baseball. #1 ERA, the most strikeouts, second most innings. And not walking guys. That's the thing the last few years the Reds have led the league, their bullpen, and walks and home runs. Obviously that's a dreadful combination. Contreras with a hit. Two on for Russell, who's a perfect 4 for 4. He's never had 5 hits in a major league game. Two balls and no strikes on Addison Russell. 2 on, 1 out. Cubs batting here in the 8th. 3-0. winning by 5 and you're going for a 5-hit game, you can rest assured he's got a 3-0 green light. Now, that doesn't mean he has to swing, as he takes a strike there. Cubs have him loaded. That's the first walk given up by Jackson Stevens. Jason Hayward will come up now and bat for pitcher Wilson.
You know, we get a good shot of Jim Riggleman right there, and he's probably thinking the same thing you are, sitting back in your couch at home, wondering if maybe you're just went one inning too long with Stevens here to just try to save your bullpen of an inning. Down by 5, the Reds really can't afford to give up much here at all.
And there's still no one getting loose in the Reds bullpen. So I think Riggleman has already come to the conclusion that this is one of those where, you know, if you get him out, good for you. If you don't, you're taking it for the team. Jam shot, fly ball center. Catch is made, and the runner will stay put. Hamilton hits a cutoff. Oh, boy! If that ball is caught cleanly by Votto, that's a double play. I don't know where in the world Contreras was going, but he was a good 12 to 15 feet off the bag.
Well, you're absolutely right. And it would have been a play to end the inning right here. The throw comes in from Billy Hamilton. Contreras is assuming the runner's going to tag up from third, but Votto just took his eye off the ball and didn't field it cleanly. That'd have been a nice way to get out of a bases loaded jam.
I mean, look, you know, it is what it is. It's 6-1, but that's a play right there that just has to be made. That play. I mean, it's right in front of you. Oh well, you move on. 2 outs in the inning, bases loaded, and the batter is Baez. Maybe a running conversation going out there between Jeanette and Contreras about he got away with one. As those two have been going back and forth during first 2 pitches of this at bat to Javier Baez. Broken bat, left side. Peraza will play to first. Boy, Baez hustling all the way. And an infield hit, and he raises his hands as if to say, finally, he was the only Cub in their lineup without a base hit tonight, excluding the pitcher.
Well, right out of the end of the bat, he's left-handed, holding the handle right there, and just not able to get to it in time and put it up on the throw.
So they finally get to Stevens on a broken bat infield hit. Well, Happ will definitely not be walked intentionally again. He was intentionally walked his first 3 times. He had a double into left center field when finally able to swing the bat an inning ago. Told you about this fellow going to the University of Cincinnati. Of course, he grew up outside of Pittsburgh. Cubs have 15 base hits tonight. 10 of the 15 came off Homer Bailey, who has been long gone from this one. Pirates ended up losing their game tonight, and with Milwaukee winning, the Brewers leapfrogged the Pirates to sit atop the National League Central by a half game. St. Louis beating Philadelphia. They're only in the 4th inning at Busch Stadium. 5-0 Redbirds. Mets beat Arizona. Boy, the Diamondbacks are just spiraling out of control. They looked virtually unbeatable until a week and a half ago, and now they've only won 1 game of the last 9 they've played. Twice in the last 9. Marlins shut out Atlanta. Rare loss for the Braves, 2-0. And out west, the Giants trail Colorado. Colorado, another team having a good year. With the recent struggles of Arizona, Colorado is sneaking back near the division lead. The Rockies can win tonight. They'd only be a half game behind the Diamondbacks. 3-2 pitch on Ian Happ. Do it again. Big league play in traffic. I mean, that looked like Kevin Love going to get a rebound. The guy right there wanted it. He just wanted it. In traffic, leaned back against the guys behind him over there. And he just went to get it.
It's a lot easier to maneuver when you're not wearing a poncho.
Good point.
Gamer down there.
Struck him out.
Good at bat for Stevens.
Well behind 3-0. So he gives up 1, and the Reds trail 7.
Live, the pregame edition brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Now tomorrow, the doubleheader, we will not have a pregame show before the first game, but we will have the postgame show, then a full pregame show and postgame show for the second game. So tomorrow, game 1, which starts at 1:10, we'll come on the air at 1 o'clock. Luis Castillo goes up against Kyle Hendricks. Game 2, which is at 7:10, and we'll have full pregame at 6:30 for that one, will be Sal Romano and Jose Quintana. So that's what we got tomorrow. 1 o'clock, baseball tomorrow afternoon at GABP. And guys, how about Jared Lorenzen, or Michael Lorenzen, I'm sorry.
Jared, you're thinking of the quarterback from Kentucky, for crying out loud.
I'm thinking of football right now in this weather. But what they're talking about, next time out, they want him to throw 2 innings. And so he's very close to coming back. And when he comes to the Reds, he can be more than 3 outs. Had a really nice outing a couple days ago. Next day threw a very intense bullpen. Next time out, which will be in the next day or 2, he will have a 2-inning stint and then Up to the Reds if they decide to bring him onto the roster.
Okay, the Reds have a lot of very interesting decisions to make. The Lorenzen decision, you know, look, there's really only one or two ways that you could figure, you know, where they might go and how they might go about it. It's not going to be easy, don't get me wrong. But, you know, the other guy who's on the comeback trail right now, and he's still at least, I would imagine, 3 starts away, is Anthony DeSclafani. And that's, of course, you know, barring any unforeseen further complications, and Lord knows he's had more than enough of those over the last 2.5 years. He basically hasn't pitched in 2 years. But, you know, what happens when he comes back? Because they're not bringing DeSclafani back to pitch in the bullpen.
Well, with a bullpen guy, Tom, you're right. It is a tough decision. But normally it happens, but we're going to send this guy out because we have to rest him for 2 or 3 days anyway. And, you know, so sometimes you're just trying to manage your bullpen by using roster spots and options and so on. But the starter decision is a more, you know, long-term decision, definitely. But if Anthony DeSclafani is 2 or 3 starts away, you know, that gives you, 10 to 15 days anyway. And a lot can happen in the meantime. Somebody can get injured, somebody can pitch his way out. Could be a deal done somewhere, you never know. All sorts of things can happen in a couple of weeks.
Justin Hancock is the new Chicago pitcher. Strikes out Barnhart to begin the inning and now faces Blandino. Alex 0 for 1, struck out after coming on as part of the double switch when Homer Bailey was lifted from the game in the 5th inning. This game started an hour and 30 minutes later than scheduled, 8:40. And here we're closing in on 11:40 Eastern time. And the Reds are batting in the bottom of the 8th inning. See the numbers on Hancock, handful of games.
First year in the big leagues for Hancock. He came up through their system. Had 19 strikeouts in 14 innings for their AAA Iowa Cubs.
Balls and a strike. For the night game tomorrow night, which begins at 7:10, if you're one of the first 20,000 fans through the gates, you get a Reds Garden Gnome presented by Cons. And you can be here for as low as $10. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Rizzo's looking at Hancock like, you didn't just do that. 6-run lead, and Rizzo's playing 2 steps behind the runner. Good thing he caught himself. Billy Hamilton fans, some diehards still hanging around cheering on Billy Hamilton. Hamilton, the number 9 hitter in the Reds lineup. The Reds in the game have 2 hits in a run. He is stepping in there here in the bottom of the 8th inning for the 3rd time. Ben Zobrist, the Chicago leadoff batter. And in fact, their entire lineup Everybody in their lineup has been to the plate 5 times in the game through 8. Billy did not like that call a little bit.
And I can see why. A little breaking ball that I'm not ever sure it ever really did catch the plate. Hancock is from Ohio. He's a Northern Ohio guy that went to high school at Defiance High School. That sounds familiar to you. There's a couple of other major leaguers, pretty good pitchers that came out of that school. Chad Billingsley, longtime pitcher with the Dodgers, and Jonathan Neese, former New York Met, both from Defiance as well as Justin Hancock.
Tell you what, if Billingsley had not gotten hurt, he had a chance to have a really good, he had a good career. He had a chance to have an exceptionally good career. And then the same Neese for that matter. Now there's a case where you saw a pitcher who, because the ball was not hit sharply, he was able to react to say, I'm not going to try and get that ball. You don't see that a lot. Hey, he's an Ohio kid. What do you expect? Jackson Stevens.
Really great job. You know, the more I watch this guy pitch, the more I'm impressed with him. You know, his main pitch is a curveball, but that fastball he was throwing tonight, anywhere from 93 to 96 miles per hour. And did a really nice job. In fact, he could have easily gotten out of that last inning without any runs at all. Good job to the Oxford, Alabama guy.
Good for him. He goes 3 1/3, allows 4 hits and a run. He walked 1 and struck out 2. And now on the pitch is right-hander Austin Bryce. So Bryce to face Almora Jr., then it will be a 6th plate appearance in this game for Ben Zobrist. Cubbies leading 7-1, and we have a long day ahead. In fact, we're about a little more than 13 hours away from game 1 of a doubleheader getting started. .110 first pitch will be on the air at 1 o'clock tomorrow. No pregame show for game 1. We will have a postgame show, Reds Live, and then a Reds Live pregame show before the start of the 7:10 game. We're certainly hoping that Mother Nature's in a better mood tomorrow, because she wasn't in a good one tonight. There's ball 4 to start the inning to Almora. Reds pitchers have walked 7, 3 intentionally. Zobrist, 1 of 4, has drawn a walk.
Now, what Jim Riggleman is looking for right now, I think, is his team playing right to the very end of this ball game with as much energy and enthusiasm as you could possibly muster. And it doesn't help when your pitcher goes out there 6 runs down the 9th inning and walks the first 2 batters.
In the air to right center field off the bat of Bryant. After back-to-back walks, Bryant was up there looking for something to hit in the seats on the first pitch. 1 out in the inning, and on to third goes Almora. So now Rizzo, a 2-hit game, has knocked in a run, scored twice. Cubs had another run. It's an 8-1 game.
E4 on Jeanette right here. Ball just comes up on him. Never really did get in front of it. Probably getting ready to field, spin, and try to get a double play ball.
You know, when the other team gets its first 5 batters and all 5 gets hits and 3 score, and you fall behind 3-0, it's easy to say, you know, that whatever team's on the short end of that looks sort of dead. But you know, ever since Jim Riggleman has taken over this team has had a crispness about it. They've played very hard. They've played much better. That's well documented. But tonight they look like they've been in a fog right from the start. There have been a lot of little things in this game that just have not been executed, and they just look like they're sort of not there tonight.
Well, the first little thing is they didn't get a hit until the 4th inning. And that was Scooter Gennett.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and we know, you know, sometimes when the other guy's going good and he's a good pitcher, unless just one of the best, I mean, those things can happen. But there are just some plays in this game that
defensive plays that could have made a difference of an out here or there that would have added to the, you know, to the crispness of the game.
Yeah, and quite honestly, a couple of plays that could have been made in this game and should have been made in this game where you might be only looking at a 5-1 deficit right now. And at least you'd have a fighting chance. I mean, 8-1, you're done. Unless you know, the one miracle of every blue moon occurs, and maybe tonight would be that night. Hot smash down to third. Blandino to Gennett. They turn the double play, and that's the way the inning comes to an end. A couple of walks in the inning. Cubs score without a hit. Reds will bat in the bottom of 9, trailing 8-1. Though 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance, and buy Toyota for over 30 offers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. We are going to the bottom of the 9th inning. Downtown Cincinnati, late night, and an early start tomorrow with a day-night doubleheader. Well, this guy right here will be forever remembered, no matter if he records another out in the history of the Chicago Cubs franchise. Now the question is at home, do you know why? I know there are many of you that are still watching this game tonight that do. Because if you're still watching this game tonight, you are hardcore and you're in there. So you probably know what I mean. This guy got the last out of the World Series. Cubs had not won one since 1908. And he got the final out, Game 7 against the Cleveland Indians, Mike Montgomery.
You think he has that baseball somewhere?
I sure hope so. Although, you know what? Well, I'm going to ask him that tomorrow. That's a very good question because I got to tell you, as special, and everybody looks at things like that so different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can only speak for myself. My personality, if I had that ball, I could absolutely care less about it. Would mean nothing to me in a million years. And if somebody came up to me and said, some Cub fan, all the money in the world, said, I'll give you fill in the blank. Here, all yours, no problem. Other people, those things mean a lot more to them. And so that would be an interesting question to find out the answer to.
Now, that kind of reminds me of the ball from the Tom Browning perfect game. Somebody asked him years later, well, where's that ball? He said, well, it was on my mantle. Until some of my boys took it out in the backyard, played some catch. One of them threw it wild, and it's in the woods.
There you go. And so for him, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, well, unless they took it and he didn't know.
Well, I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, that can happen now. That's happened a lot. I know
was
a lot of guys who have stuff in their house, and it means something to them, and their kids, when they're young, they go grab the baseball. And the next
that's what I mean. I think they probably did it. He didn't know it. Yeah. But it's out there buried in northern Kentucky somewhere.
Now, actually, we have come to learn that in the final out of that game, Montgomery got the out, but when the recorded out was at first base was Anthony Rizzo.
Okay.
So he actually gave that baseball to Tom Ricketts, the owner of the Chicago Cubs. So there you have it. That's a great question, though. Because most of the time the guy will throw it to the pitcher, especially when he gets the last out and records it and that kind of thing. And so natural to think that he would have it.
Of course, now Ricketts passed on a lot of the goodwill.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Also, did he not, by purchasing World Series rings, real World Series rings, for every employee of the Cubs, even the ushers?
Exactly
at the
right.
ballpark. That's some kind of move there.
I mean, the stories you hear about him, and I don't know him well. I have a good friend of mine here in town that grew up with him, and they are very close friends since they were in grade school together. And this guy, a buddy of mine here, who's friends with Ricketts, who I don't know Ricketts at all, but he will tell you that ever since he was a little kid who, look, he grew up with a lot of money. But he will tell you that this guy, that he is as rock solid as they come as a guy. And the stories you hear about him now as an adult and the way he treats everybody around him and inside the organization, and it's pretty impressive. Jeanette Gaunt on strikes. Lester will be the winner, 4-1. Bailey will be the loser, 1-6. Reds would now go to 1-9 in games started by Bailey this year. Of course, one of the real tough luck. He had 2 or 3 tough luck losses early in the year. He and the Reds, or the Reds. Dodgers and Nationals rained out tonight. Dodgers probably need a break. They have been reeling. Breaking ball in there. They finally picked up a win last night. They're 9 games under 500. The defending National League champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Tony Cruz, a batter. Batting in a pitcher's spot for Austin Bryce, who went 1 inning, walked 2, did not give up a hit, did give up an unearned run. Reds are down to their final out.
Montgomery's pitching this inning like it's the 7th game of the World Series.
That is 15 strikeouts now for Cubs pitching in a game. Lester had 8, Wilson's fan 3, Hancock struck out 2, and Montgomery the first 2 here in the 9th. So Joey Votto will bat. Joey has been on one time tonight. 0 for 2, has drawn a walk. Two and two to Votto. That'll do it. Cubs win the opening game of this series by a final count of 8-1. Reds Live right around the corner. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.